Just came out of closed session, and in closed session, the board voted to hire Jennifer Franklin. So now, Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have quite a few announcements this Friday. This weekend is going to be a busy weekend in the Dutchtown neighborhood. Dutchtown, the Business Association, is actually organizing canvassing this weekend along Merrimack, Grand, and Virginia in support of our community improvement district in the neighborhood. If we're able to get it solidified and passed, it'll be the largest community improvement district in the city of St. Louis. We need a lot of help with that. So if anyone from the Dutchtown neighborhood is listening at this hour, we would really appreciate your support and meeting up with us tomorrow. Also, there's a neighborhood cleanup that's happening in Dutchtown across the entire Dutchtown neighborhood, not just the 25th Ward, but also in the 20th Ward, and they'll be meeting at Marquette Park tomorrow. And there's 6 different quadrants that are going to be focused on. We'll have some additional support from the Refuse and Forestry Department as well. And then also the Crime Commission is going to be out knocking doors in the Dutchtown neighborhood. So it's going to be a very busy weekend in Dutchtown. And if anyone has any questions or needs any information, feel free to call or email me. I was rather hoping to make this other announcement while there were more people in the chambers. And I certainly appreciate the moment of silence for the victims of the violence in Orlando. This has been something that I've been struggling with all week long. As a member of the LGBT community, it's something that has hit home very near and dear to me. I have several friends that live in Orlando, and waking up to that news and worrying about whether or not they're alive was not the way I wanted to start my Sunday morning. That being said, even throughout kind of the proceedings of today's meeting, I felt it was a little unusual that we didn't allow colleagues on the floor after we had a moment of silence to pay tribute to either the victims or, share remembrance or solidarity with those of us in the LGBT community. And then on top of it, our benediction, our opening prayer, the minister, and probably not intentionally, and I'm not insinuating that any of this is intentional, but sometimes things unintentionally, may hurt people. And so I think it's important for moments when we have the opportunity to share, to make that known and make it aware and educate people around those issues. And so, but even with the opening benediction, the minister used the term "the lesser among us" and described the children, the elderly, and the homeless. I, for one, as a member of the LGBT community, have had that term used to describe me, the least among us. I think anyone that's been in a targeted or disadvantaged position in life, could certainly be called lesser among us, but I don't believe that is an appropriate term to describe anyone, and we are all humans. We are all at different points in time in our lives. Myself, as a community leader, as an elected representative of the city of St. Louis, but also as a member of the LGBT community, I have had people spit in my face, call me names, shove me, push me, simply for fact of who I am, and that is not acceptable. It's not a way to portray feelings towards another community, whether or not you agree or disagree with them. The importance of Orlando cannot be understated in terms of its impact on the gay community, the LGBT community as a whole. I, over the last week, have had to endure, witnessing even friends question whether or not this actually happened. Did the shooting actually occur? And then, from folks that, accepted that it occurred, and these were not my friends that were saying this, but, certainly witnessed a lot on social media in terms of people deserving it, and that the victims of Orlando are heathens and deserve to die. And it's been a very, very painful moment for many of us witnessing this and having to have difficult conversations. I know many of us in the LGBT community, particularly those that are open, like myself, we've struggled our entire lives, accepting ourselves, which is really hard, but then working towards acceptance from others. And so I know that many of us down here are friends and allies of the LGBT community, and I certainly appreciate your support and your leadership and friendship. But there's still so much work in that journey and that struggle that needs to be done. The fact that it happened in a gay bar is also of a great consequence and importance. Here we are coming up on Pride weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. And Pride actually started as a result of the riots at Stonewall. And Stonewall happened June 28th, 1969, many decades ago, at a point in time in our nation's history when gay bars were being targeted by police and others for raids and dragging people out, whether they were drag queens or simply there, with a friend, socializing and getting to know someone in a safe place. Until the advent of the internet, a gay bar was really the only place that an LGBT person could go to actually feel comfortable meeting people, holding hands with someone that they loved, and the like. And so for many of us, that was our safe place, for myself included. My kind of first trip to a gay bar was at the complex over off of Shodo. And I wasn't quite of age at the time that I went there, but it was a place for me to commune and get to know people who were like me. I grew up, between St. Louis and Florida, and didn't have exposure to a lot of people within the LGBT community. And even the friends of mine that I made in high school that were open, I didn't feel as though I was part of that community at that point in time. And they were also targeted and relegated to, the commons or a different part of the cafeteria. And so, this has really been an intrusion and an invasion into the LGBT community. And it certainly is an act of terrorism, but it is most definitely a hate crime. And the absence of people talking about it in some cases is really hurtful. So I really, want to thank everyone here, for the support today, the moment of silence. The flag on the podium is a really wonderful gesture. But I also want to, make sure that people realize that the work is still going on. The struggle, even for me personally, having to hear some of the things that I've heard, and I know a lot of folks, he's an elected representative of our community. It doesn't make the pain go away. Anytime someone, spits on your face and calls you a faggot, it doesn't make the pain go away. So, with that, I just would like to remind people that the journey does continue. Make sure that you're checking in on friends, constituents, neighbors, because there is still a lot of pain in our community around the tragedy in Orlando. Thankfully, my friends are all accounted for that live down there, but they're still struggling with it themselves. And so, as a lot of the country, I really hope that it becomes more than just moments of silence and more than just vigils and more than just marching in our parade and taking our money at political fundraisers. I really hope that it solidifies in movement towards acceptance, understanding, awareness, and eventually friendships that grow into positive change for our community, not only here in St. Louis, but across the country. So thank you very much for allowing me the personal indulgence this afternoon.
Thank you, Alderman. Yeah. But Alderman, I want to just make sure we clear up. Pastor Rodney Francis from Washington Missionary Baptist Church, I know he didn't mean the phrase in the way it was taken. It's because it's a biblical phrase from Matthew 25 and Psalm where it says, the king will reply. Well, I'll let the Alderwoman from the first do it. Alderwoman from the first. No, you would do. Please go, Alderwoman. You would be better. Okay, and and.
In the LGBT community, there's a lot that's in the Bible that isn't necessarily friendly towards everyone. And so words have power and words have meaning associated with them. And I appreciate the context for sure. But it doesn't, we sometimes need to change the narrative a little bit. And so I appreciate that. And also, since my colleague from the First Ward is standing at the mic, just a point of clarification as well. I do actually understand what courting is. I may not have had a lot of practice with it as of late the last few years, but I do appreciate what courting is and have understood the meaning of it for a while, and appreciate that you and your husband have had the opportunity to do that before, and I believe you still do from the conversations that I've had with you. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure it was clarified that because I know the pastor and I know he was recommended by a number of aldermen to do the opening prayer today, and he and his wife are moving out of town, and it's a great loss to the city of St. Louis. The guy, he's truly a pastor without walls and boundaries because he's out in the community trying to make a difference each and every day. And that phrase, least of these, or least amongst you, right, is taken from the Bible, from Matthews and Psalms and so forth. Yes. Alderman from first.
Mr. President, members of the board, I would like to add a friendly note to what the Alderman from the 25th has said. I watched our colleagues, the Democratic colleagues up in Congress, take a stance and do a mini filibuster about gun control. And I know this always brings up a lot of problems with different people. The Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say a lot of the other things that people think that it says. Along with the mourning of what happened in Orlando with the murders, is also the need that we have to address this gun control issue, this right to bear arms, that we want people to be able to carry something in. If you got a rifle, when the Constitution was brought about, they thought of somebody coming in with a rifle and being able to protect their family and neighbors and their country. Nobody could have thought that, just like we couldn't believe that we're going to have cell phones, that we're going to Mars, that we're going to the moon. They did not think that somebody would be able to get a machine gun that repeated over and over and over and come into a place and just murder people, be it the church that happened a couple of years ago, be it this thing in Orlando. This is something that needs to be fixed. How can the NRA have more power than all the people who live in the United States? How is it that such a small minority controls so much? And that I thought when the children got killed in the school, most certainly if anything would have been addressed, that would have been it. Who could think it's all right to go and kill children in the school? Nobody. I'm not saying that other people's lives are not valuable. I am just saying, I just really thought, that's it right there. We got this now. And nobody wants to take your guns away. But the difference in a person going in a building with a rifle or something that shoots once or twice, and you going in there with clips and being able to just hold people hostage and kill them, is the difference in so much life and death. And if it had just been a rifle, okay, you want to have a rifle, they most certainly could have knocked him down and taken it over. Somebody might have died, and I'm not saying that, but when you have a repeating rifle with all of this weapons, and I saw on Facebook, because people said, how can they go in there? This guy showed on Facebook how you can put that in your pants, have a t-shirt on, have the clips everywhere, and you could not see, and this was a thin guy. This was not a big guy, and it wasn't big, bulky clothes. You could not see that he had this repeating assault weapon. So what is it that we at this city can do? I think almost all of us at this Board of Aldermen, what can we do to be supportive of the people in Congress, to let them know, I support the Second Amendment, but it doesn't say what people says. And in fact, there have been Supreme Court justices like Warren who have said that is not what it says. What can we do, or what should we do to support our colleagues at the federal level and our president to try to find some way to address this thing? It's a gun issue. In our streets of St. Louis all the time, it's a gun issue. In Orlando, it's a gun issue. And I know people will say, guns don't shoot, kill people. People do,
kill, yeah.
Okay? But if those people didn't have those guns, if you only had a rifle, you could not have done the damage that was done in all these different places. A rifle does not do the same thing a handgun does not do. When you got something that can shoot and you are prepared to not only kill people, but you die also, most certainly we cannot look at the Constitution and keep hiding behind it, as that was what the original framers of the Constitution meant. And then I will add this, even if they did, that's why we amend the Constitution. Let's say that's what they meant. Do we not think that it's about time that we look at the Constitution, if that's what the framers meant, and say, well, they may have meant that back in 1800, 17, whatever, but this is 2016, and we daily lose lives with something that does not have to be. And when you look at other countries that don't allow this thing, we see the big difference. We're a better country than this. We should not be grieving about this over and over again. I think that I saw on TV the other day that the President of the United States, they talked about how many times he has had to come and make the same speech, and we do nothing. The NRA ought to be ashamed of itself. It really ought to be ashamed of itself. And let's not forget, when Ronald Reagan was in office, guess what? The NRA went along with them doing some background checks and things. But now all of a sudden they don't want anything. No, it may take away. Nobody wants to take your gun. In fact, I come from a family, my uncles all hunt. They have guns. My sister was in the military for 20-something years. 7 of my family members have been in the military. They all have guns. No, but they are responsible people with guns. We want to get these guns and these repeating rifles and assault weapons out of the hands of people who most certainly have shown they don't have the capacity to use them wisely. And I don't even understand what the capacity is unless it's the military. Now, I do understand that some people might say, well, we don't want the military to take over the United States, and I don't want that either. But unless we're over in war someplace, I do not get it. I am so saddened for you. I feel your pain. I feel it in my streets every day when I'm hearing young men that get killed in my own communities that I represent. And I just don't understand why we can't do anything. And anything that we could do as a board, I would want to work on that with people. That's something to work. I vote no a lot, but this is something I would want to vote yes on to address this issue. Even if we just send them a resolution to Congress, congratulate them for what the stance, they did get it on the agenda because they did that, and to encourage them to keep up the fight, because I hope before this president leaves that we can do some little thing so that we don't have to do this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well put, Alderman. Any Alderman from the 22nd?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I know it's getting late and everybody wants to go home, but today is a very special day, June 17th. 31 years ago, I became a father for the very first time. So I want to say happy birthday to Jeffrey Boyd Jr.
All right. Congratulations. Any further? Yeah, that's tough to do when you're only 25. Alderman from the 19th.
Oh, I just want to quickly remind residents in the Tiffany, Botanical Heights, and Gate District West neighborhoods that we have food delivery every day at 1:30. So anybody can come and eat. Bring your whole family. We want you to have that opportunity to take advantage of the free food, a free meal a day. And our camp will start on July 11th. We'll have 3 meals a day. Camp will run from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's July 11th to July 29th. We're going to kick it off June 25th with an ice cream social and a bicycle parade and lemonade stands. So I want all the residents to come out. You don't have to have any money. Just come and have fun, meet your neighbors, and we'll be signing you up for our e-blast news system. So if you don't have an email address, we'll give you one, sign you up. All I'm trying to do is just say, be a part of your community so you'll have information and you can be a part of improving our city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Madam Clerk? You have an announcement?
Tuesday, Transportation Committee meeting at 9 a.m. in the Leisure Room. Also on Tuesday, Neighborhood Development Committee meeting at 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Wednesday, Housing meeting at 8:30 in the Kennedy Room. Friday, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers. That's the extent of my announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the board excuse the Alderman from the 14th for necessary absence.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, entertained second, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the board adjourns until Friday, June 24th, 10 a.m.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 11th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Stand adjourned.